In this video, I'm going to talk through the 3 biggest mistakes I made in entrepreneurship that cost me over $1 million in cash and opportunity cost, so you don't have to make the same mistakes I did. Business is a leveraged vehicle. It can go up really fast, it can go down even faster, and frankly, this is all sorts of traps. And ultimately, your whole job in business is to really protect your downside so you can survive long enough to succeed. If you don't, it could be all over far faster than you realize. So let's get into the first big mistake I made. Number 1 was using shoddy consultants to help get a tax credit that we thought we qualified for, but didn't, and ended up racking up a $300,000 tax bill as a result. Number 2 was not tracking the numbers and the financial performance of my company closely enough, and ultimately we nearly went bust 3 times. And then number 3 was only selling packaged products for a decade, not recurring revenue subscriptions, which quite literally I think left millions on the table. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Mike Reed. I'm the co-founder of a business accelerator company called Dent Global. And over the last 12 years, we've worked with more than 3,500 founders globally to help them build a founder brand through an accelerator program called Key Person of Influence. Our clients and our alumni run businesses representing more than $1 billion in revenue, and we've either fully or partially acquired 8 different companies to form a group of growth services for founders, from publishing to video production to IT to an awards agency and to funding agencies and a few others in between. So with that said, let's get into it. Mistake number 1 was using shoddy consultants. Now, first up, this R&D tax credit, right? I assumed we were eligible, and so we went for it, right? We got approached by what seemed like a really credible consulting firm to apply for it, and they took us through this whole process, and it seemed really legit at the time. The problem was, we found out 18 months later that the firm went bust. And how did we know? Well, the tax office went through their entire client list and they decided to audit all of their clients who'd applied for this grant. So yeah, we heard from the Internal Revenue Service. Now, it turned out what we thought was a very legit application just wasn't. So not only did we have to pay back the tax credit, we had to pay double that in penalties. So the whole thing came out to $300,000, and it was just a nightmare to deal with. So here's the first lesson. Obviously, be way more discerning when you're applying for government money, right? You don't want the government as your creditor. They're brutal. It's extremely unforgiving. But more importantly, what I learned was to really adopt profit-first banking system in our business. Part of the reason we applied for this tax credit at the time was because, frankly, cash flow was tight. Why? Well, because we weren't really good at managing our money when it came in. Now, Profit First is an awesome system and book pioneered by a guy called Mike Michalowicz. And he talks about a simple principle that will change the way you think about money in your bank account forever. Imagine you have a large empty plate at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Unsurprisingly, you go around the room, you fill up the plate to the brim, way more food than you actually need to eat. And then what do? Well, you sit down and you eat it all, right? Why? Well, because human beings, we're just not good at rationing and portioning what we actually need. We tend to apportion to the available size of the plate, right? Big plates lead to big meals, small plates lead to smaller meals. So your bank accounts are really no different, right? If you have one account for money coming in and going out, guess what? Just like the plate analogy, the account's going to fill up each month and then it's going to get emptied at the end of each month. Why? Well, because as an entrepreneur, you spend based on what's available in your account, right? Not what the business can actually afford. So rather than having one bank account where all the money goes in and out of, what you really need is many bank accounts that serve different purposes. So for example, you have one for revenue coming in, you have one for OPEX or operational expenditure going out, you've got CapEx, owner's comp, profit, and especially you've got one for tax. Do this and you're already ahead of most other entrepreneurs. And trust me, I've worked with a lot of them. I know. Okay, mistake number 2, not knowing your numbers or financial performance. Look, I learned this the hard way, that business is a leveraged vehicle, right? It can go up really fast. It can also bring you down just as quickly. And the key to success is actually protecting your downside. That's where compounding profit is made. If you make 10% one month and then you lose it the next, Well, you need to make 20% profit the following month just to get back to the same growth trajectory you were on before. Right? So losses actually hurt more than you realize. The bigger the loss, the harder it is to crawl back. But when you start out in business, you're not really thinking about that, right? You're wide-eyed, green, hopes, dreams, enthusiasm, hustle. You've got all these things in spades. So what do? You go out and you make your first sales, you ring the bell. But then before you know it, the money is leaving as quickly as it's coming in, right? You have to pay staff now, you've got suppliers, contractors, tax, overhead, all these other expenses. And so before, all the focus is on revenue, not on costs, and guess what, right? You just made the rookie mistake every inexperienced entrepreneur makes, which is not knowing your numbers. By the way, if you want more videos like this, then I'd be stoked if you subscribe to the channel, ring the bell on here on YouTube to get notifications of more videos. That would be amazing. Thanks for the love. Now, when I started out in business, we ran large-scale conferences and events. So we had thousands of people coming. We would make about $500,000 per event, and we'd run 5 or 6 of these around the world every single year. So big money was coming into the business, but then scraps until we ran the next big event. So cash flow was really lumpy, right? It was like feast or famine. And without proper systems to track financial performance, without having our cash plates, it was impossible to track actual profitability. So as a result, we constantly ran the next big event just to stay afloat. Which brings me to lesson 2, which is you got a scorecard and measure leading, not just lagging metrics. Lagging indicators are what you see in the P&L. It's stuff that shows you what happened before today, right? So it's historical, it's great for reflection, but if you lost money for 3 months in a row, it's not much good doing a quarterly review of the numbers because it's just too late to do anything about it. And like I said before, it's really hard to recover from that place. Instead, leading indicators predict the future, right? They measure things like sales and marketing activity that drives financial performance in the P&L over the coming days and weeks and months. So if your lead flow dries up today, then you might still be making sales from the leads you generated 3 months ago, but you're gonna feel the pain of it in 3 months' time when your pipeline eventually dries up. Now, as you mature as an entrepreneur and a business, knowing your numbers helps you make faster and more automatic decisions. It also empowers your team to make better decisions on your behalf. So you can step out of the functional operations of the business and stay vital on the brand building stuff, the marketing, sales, growth, strategy in the business. Which brings me to lesson 3, which is you've got to collect cash like a ninja and you got to pay like a tortoise. Businesses who thrive and have cash to reinvest collect money from their customers like highly trained ninjas, and they pay money out to suppliers like cautiously slow and steady tortoises. Cash is the lifeblood of your business, not revenue or not even profit, right? If you have a strong cash conversion cycle, meaning you collect cash faster than you pay it out, then you've got money to reinvest in the business. Which brings me to mistake number 3, which is selling packaged products, not recurring revenue services. When we launched our flagship 12-month Key Person of Influence Accelerator program 13 years ago, we soon realized we'd created this monster. Right? Thousands of people would come to our live events each year. We became one of the fastest growing young companies in Australia in 2014. We were winning awards left, right, and center for our content and our books, programs, and most importantly for the work that we did with clients. But there was one problem. We were a promotions business, meaning every year we'd have to sign up anywhere between 200 to 300 new clients around the world who are paying 10 to 20 grand for a 1-year program. But the problem was, as soon as they finished, that was it, right? We didn't have an ongoing recurring revenue product. It was just a once and done deal. So we didn't have time to stop and think about redesigning the product to increase the lifetime value of each customer. Now, 10 years later, we run a global accelerator community that's growing month on month. We grow faster in a month than we did in a year before with 1/10 of the marketing effort to do so. So lesson number 4 is revenue solves most problems in business. While it's true that you can grow broke, in other words, you can run out of cash from fast growth, it's also true that for most small businesses, that more revenue really solves most problems. When you've got a product design that lets you scale users or customers with a low marginal cost per additional customer, then you've got an engine that really thrives on more customers. Which brings me to lesson 5, which is focus on the little wins. Part of the reason I made the mistake of going after that R&D tax credit that we should have really known better that we weren't qualified for was because I had a big win mindset at the time. I was looking for the knight in shining armor that was going to come in and save our business. Maybe it's the promise of social media being your next big thing. Or maybe it's a podcast, or it's a YouTube channel like this, or it's integrating ChatGPT into your business, and that's going to be the thing that helps you take off. Don't get me wrong, I love these tools and their ability to create major change. It's awesome, but the reality is for most entrepreneurs, these things aren't going to transform your business overnight. Now, the question is, what does transform your business? Let me give you some tips, right? It's showing up powerfully and consistently over and over again in the market. It's being disciplined about the simple everyday habits in your business that produce results. It's things like sharing your message every day, right? It's pitching for bigger and better opportunities. It's developing your thought leadership content, honing your craft. It's incrementally improving the customer experience. It's improving your profile little by little, day by day. It's picking up the phone, it's making calls, right? It's doing these things day in, day out are what stack a series of little wins on top of one another in your business that over time, that's what creates the big leaps forward that you're hoping for, right? So I hope this video has inspired you not to make the mistakes I did and build a valuable business and ultimately go out and make a dent in the universe. If you want to watch more videos like this from me, click on the next video here, and until next time, go crush it.